Hi, my name's Kim, and I'm going to talk about my suggestions when you're working with a child or a young person of how to make contact with parents and what might be important, even if it's the briefest of conversations, a 10-minute conversation. So basically, you sometimes end up seeing a child before you've really had a thorough intake with either parent, especially if the parents are separated. Or in a school, sometimes counsellors see children for weeks without talking to a parent. But my suggestion is that you think about these things from the parent's point of view, and how if your child was seeing a counsellor, there'd be things that might be of relevance that you and the counsellor might need to talk about without breaching the confidentiality of the work the child does with the counsellor. So my tips are to have a little cheat sheet, a list of things that you hope to ask a parent, a minimum of about 4 things in a phone call. The first thing you'd obviously say is this a good time? Have you got 10 minutes? We can always reschedule that. And in reality, a longer session would be helpful, but there may be a fee attached to that. So if you've got 10 minutes, I've got 4 questions really. The first is, how are things going for your child? And then let the parent answer from whatever perspective they want. Pay attention to the words used, whether the words are like labels that might be uncomfortable for the child to know about themselves, and reflect on those things. The second question is, have you got any specific concerns about your child? The third question is, what is it that you admire about your child? Because we can too often get overwhelmed with the problem story that people tell you about the child, and we don't actually get to know the child. So the parents who have seen the baby growing up will have lots of little anecdotes to tell you of the child's strengths, their interests, their passions, what's wonderful about their child. So make time for that, so that there's a balance between the problem story and getting to know the child. And then, specifically, how would you you ask the parent the fourth question, how would you like me to stay in contact with you? Would you like a phone call similar to this once a month? Or, you can't really be sending long emails because that would take a lot of time to read and reflect and reply. But we can set up a session we often call it a parent feedback session. So if you're open to that, that might be a helpful way to go. And, around safety issues, there's a lot of family violence around, there's a lot of mental health problems around. So if it feels appropriate to ask that parent you're talking to, is it okay if I speak to the other partner? Are there any family court orders? Because of course, if there's a family court order that says both parents need to consent to counselling, and you only get the consent and connection with one, you're actually breaching a court order. So if possible, if you sense there could be things going on, you can say, are you feeling safe at home at the moment? Are things safe? Are there any intervention orders? And, also ask about that family court order if the parents are separated. I hope this has been helpful.